today we're going to practice the lower part of the Holly and the Ivy. But before we get started, there's a few things I want to point out. As I mentioned in class, we have verse 1, chorus 1, verse 2, chorus 2, all the way to verse 6, chorus 6. In between each set of a verse plus a chorus, there's random amounts of multi-measure rests, which are taken from the original version of this song. Now, since we do not have the orchestration that the original version of this song has, I might end up shortening some of those multi-measure rests. So because the amount of rests might change, we're not going to practice the rests right now. Okay, we're just going to skip over them. And once I nail down the background accompaniment and figure out what's going to be going on during these rests, and if I'm going to have it just like the original or shorten it, I will let you know. So right now we'll just focus on practicing learning the notes and the words. And once we get good at that, we'll need to really focus on the breathing. The breathing in this version is a little challenging because of the long phrases that I have here. And I am considering adding some extra breath marks in the middle, okay? So I will work on determining the best place for those breaths to be, and then I will get back to you. So just know that for now, I'm not going to be strict about if you sneak a breath in the phrases. But for the short phrases, you should not try and sneak a breath in there, okay? You shouldn't need to. So you'll just do that phrase and breathe here on the breath mark. Do that phrase, breathe here on the rest. Do that phrase, breathe here on the breath mark, okay? Here, you'll need to take a big breath. And here, there's not a lot of time to take a deep breath, but just do the best that you can. There's some subtle differences between the different verses. Verses 1 through 4 start out with a G going to a C, G going to a C, G going to a C, and a G going to a C. But then verses 5 and 6 have C to C, C to C. So that's one subtle difference. Another one is there's this spot in the middle of each verse where you have a pickup note going to the next note. And it's okay if you don't understand what I'm talking about, because once you start singing it, you'll feel the pattern that I'm talking about, and that is going to change when we get to verse 5. In the middle of verse 5 here, you don't have a pickup note here going to this note. See? This F going to that C, but here you have the G, and then F, C, G, F, C, but here you just have G, no F going to the C. So you'll feel the difference that it feels like there's a note missing here. But then when we get to the next verse, you have it again. So really, it's just only in verse 5 that we have that difference. And the reason why we have that is because of the words, because they're trying to fit the words of the verse into this pattern, and there just wasn't a word there. So, okay, I think I've gone over everything. Again, we're going to skip over the multi-measure rests. And for the first verse and the first chorus, I'm going to play the MIDI file of, it's basically a digital version of this part plus the higher part plus piano chords. And it's a little bit hard to figure out where to come in because I press play and then I run to over here. So please excuse me if I have trouble coming in right at the beginning, because there's no conductor to tell me when to come in. So we'll jump in. I'll play the MIDI file for verse 1 and chorus 1, and then I'll go and stop it, and then we will continue after that. But I just wanted to play the MIDI file so you get a chance to practice along with it, at least for one verse and one chorus, and maybe see how it fits in, how our part fits in, if you can hear it in the recording. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press play, and we'll try and jump in. The holly and the ivy, when they are full grown, of all the trees in the wood, the holly bears the crown. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the organ, sweet singing in the choir. Gonna stop it. Okay. I hope you could hear the MIDI file. So let's go ahead and move on to verse 2 here. 1, 2, ready, go. The holly bears a blossom as white as any flower, and Mary bore Jesus Christ to be our Savior. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the organ sweet, singing in the choir. Okay, verse 3. 1, 2, ready, go. The holly bears a berry as red as any blood, and Mary bore Jesus Christ to do sinners good. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the organ sweet, singing in the choir. Okay, verse 4. 1, 2, ready, go. The holly bears a prickle as sharp as any thorn, and Mary bore Jesus Christ on Christmas Day in the morn. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the organ sweet, singing in the choir. Okay, verse 5. This is where we have the same note twice. 1, 2, ready, go. The holly bears a bark as bitter as any gall, and Mary bore Jesus Christ to redeem us all. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the organ sweet, singing in the choir. Verse 6, same note twice. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. The holly and the ivy, when they are full grown, of all the trees in the wood, the holly bears the crown. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the organ sweet, singing in the choir. Okay, I almost said the wrong words here. I almost said the holly bears, like one of the other verses, but this is the same as the first verse, actually. I know there's something else I did wrong. I didn't enunciate the CR of crown very well. We got to enunciate our words because we need to be able to project in the large room that we're going to be doing this in. So sometimes you need to exaggerate it just a tiny bit. Instead of having a very soft crown, we got to really make sure that they can hear crown, right? Okay, so definitely some things that we need to work on here. Any part that you're having a hard time with, just go back in the video and go over that part. And if you have any questions, let me know in class. But thank you so much for practicing with me. Bye.